Welcome to Modern Learning on the Air, the Intrinsic training podcast, in conversation with some of the top leaders and thinkers in the modern virtual learning space. We'll learn about the latest virtual classroom techniques, creative training initiatives, and virtual training best practices that will engage and empower your teams, colleagues, and learners. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Jennifer from Intrinsic, and I was scrolling through my library the other day and came across a book written by Daniel Tobin way back in 2000. That book is called All Learning is Self-Directed. And thinking about this book got me thinking about how much our learning environments have evolved since 2000 and how we're constantly needing to adapt to these changes. With all the technology-based learning that's become so widely accepted everywhere, the rules, the people, the environments are different. Tobin emphasized back then that we need to inspire, inform, and encourage our learners, no matter what their learning environment is. This couldn't be more true today, especially with all the changes that we've had the last couple of years and the rise of blended learning and especially hybrid work environments. Hybrid work environments brings us to hybrid learning environments. It has to. And Tobin's book highlighted the importance of intrinsic internal motivation. Learners need to see the value in the content, and they need to choose to spend their time learning it. Now, as designers, our job is to create environments in which they can and want to learn. This constructivist approach means we can't force people to learn. We can only create environments that facilitate learning. Even in a live learning environment, whether it's a virtual classroom or in person or telepresence or whatever, it's crucial for our learners to be just as self-directed as when they're doing e-learning or watching videos. Now, why is that? It's because live settings require active participation, asking questions, applying knowledge right on the spot. And if you're self-directed, you're more likely to jump into the discussions and seek out more learning and really make the most of the real-time interaction with your instructor and the other people in the class. And this proactive approach helps you take charge of your own learning journey. And you want to make sure you get the most out of every session and truly understand the material. Time is such a precious resource that's what we want to get done. Now, if Tobin was to write this book today, he'd focus on blended learning delivery in a hybrid environment, I think. When I talk about this, I'm referring to the learner's environment, where they are and how they're interacting with the learning experience. Blended learning includes live classes like in-person and virtual, or a combination, and then the other resources and activities that learners go through at their own pace. Now, imagine we've got a learner who starts out intrinsically, internally motivated. They want to learn the material, they want to get new skills, and they see the value in the training. They're willing to invest their time and attention and give it a shot. But it's so easy to lose them. An hour-long talking head webinar doesn't keep anyone awake, let alone keep them learning. And a page-turner type of e-learning often encourages people to click through as fast as they can just to get to the end. And this can demotivate even the most enthusiastic learner. We've been talking about learner engagement for several years, especially in context to our Inquire engagement framework. And as I revisited his work, I realized that creating an environment for self-directed learners to be successful really ties into that framework. This model focuses on three dimensions of engagement: environmental, intellectual, and emotional. So let's start with environmental. Environmental engagement refers to how the learner's interaction with the learning changes both the environment and the learner's perception of the experience. And when we're designing for environmental engagement, we want to create a place where people can and want to learn. Now, to achieve this, we need to design and teach in a way that encourages conversations, it encourages interactions, and we need to teach people how to communicate effectively. We need to tell them how often, what tools to use, and what's appropriate for that moment. But we need to not force interactions that make people do things that make them uncomfortable. Some people, for example, shut down when they have to have video on all the time. They're not comfortable. And environmental engagement is really about comfort. The second dimension of engagement is intellectual engagement, and that focuses on what the learner thinks about the information presented in the learning experience. Now, our goal here is to stimulate learner curiosity, and we really want to emphasize relevance. We want to emphasize usefulness, and this all ties back to classic adult learning theory. That hasn't changed. So when we're designing for intellectual engagement, we need to connect content to individual experiences, get beyond generic case studies, for example, and focus on real work, get past just slides and videos and encourage people to talk, to question, to interact. And self-paced content and live content needs to be kind of woven together. We use live time to practice and dig deeper, and the self-directed content is where the lecture type stuff, the deeper, the knowledge type stuff comes from. Now, finally, emotional engagement is how we feel about the experience. Our goal is to enable our learners to feel good about what's going on and not resent the time invested or feeling shortchanged by the fact that they didn't go through traditional training. We need to nurture an emotional attachment and keep reinforcing why the content is important. And we also need to create psychological safety, an inclusive environment that's accessible to all, regardless of location or background. Inspiring confidence in the hybrid learning experience. Let me give you an example of what happens when we lose emotional engagement for our learners and the impact it can have on the whole program. I worked on a class once. I designed it for a large telecommunications firm, and we were teaching high-end experienced salespeople how to sell a new product. I mean, these products had dollar signs of millions of dollars. So this was really important. It was very exciting. And we sent them out ahead of time, all of the virtual classroom links. They knew what time they had to be there, twice a week for 4 weeks. That's a big investment for salespeople. And they all committed to it. What we didn't tell them in that upfront communication is that they would have to be working on content and in group work outside of the scheduled time in the virtual classroom. They had to work through case studies and there were projects together. We didn't tell them that. And the feedback we got was, I committed to a certain amount of time. And that was time off of the road when I couldn't be selling. And then you tell me there's all this other time that I didn't plan on. And that was very hard for them to schedule. And quite frankly, they didn't do that work. They got frustrated, they got angry, and they weren't able to be as successful as they wanted to be. We needed to redesign the experience the next time we taught it to make sure everyone was able to commit to not just the live time, but the self-paced time. And that's making, if we're angry, if we're uncomfortable, if we're frustrated, that really kills emotional engagement. Even when we're highly motivated or intellectually engaged to learn the content. So you can see that there are common challenges for all types of learners. Besides just having the time or us communicating well, self-directed learners often face challenges like maintaining their own discipline or figuring out where the resources are and staying motivated for a program that might go for 4 weeks. Discipline can be a significant hurdle, as self-directed learning requires a high level of self-motivation and time management. And to overcome this, we create a learning journey with clear goals and deadlines, and that can really help our learners stay on track. I recommend a course map because a picture is really worth 1,000 words. This gives learners an idea of the amount of work and how much time to spend. It also does a good job of integrating the self-paced content with the live content, instead of it just seeming all piecemeal and unconnected. Now, resource access can also be a big issue, especially for learners who may not have easy access to the materials or information. But they should have easy access. This is what your LMS is for. Use your LMS to do this. Use that course map we just talked about. And consider creating online communities and help desks so people can share knowledge, they can ask questions. So, is this the future of learning? Is it already here? Well, that's a question we get asked. And the future is always out in front of us, right? But if we focus on solid design with an eye towards keeping all learning environments engaging, then we can serve both our learners today and be ready for whatever crisis or technology or whatever the future has to offer us. It comes back to design and engagement. The blend of self-directed learning, hybrid learning environments, and ongoing intellectual, emotional, and environmental engagement, that Inquire engagement framework, is taking us towards that future of learning. And it's also actively defining learning right now. As we leverage technology to make more flexible, more diverse, and more scalable options, we are getting towards more personalized and holistic learning journeys. And these foundational concepts still hold true. Things like advanced learning management systems and online communities are enabling a seamless integration of live and self-paced content if we do it well, so people have access no matter where they are. As we adapt these types of models, we are kind of getting into a dawn of an adaptive learning system that's reshaping the way we're delivering content. But it can be a model we can use into the future. So, I want to leave you with 3 things. Remember that intrinsic, internal motivation is key. Your learners need to see the value in the training and choose to spend their time doing it. The second point is you need to engage learners across 3 dimensions. Focus on that environmental, intellectual, and emotional engagement to create these comprehensive learning environments and take advantage of that intrinsic motivation. And third, remember that comfort and relevance matter. Design learning that makes people feel good about what they're doing and makes them feel like they can be successful. And that helps keep them engaged. With so much change, our goal needs to be to make blended learning in hybrid environments familiar and comfortable. That's the only way they're going to be effective. And here's the thing. Hybrid, virtual, blended, video, e-learning, VR, AR, whatever, AI. It's all just learning. That's what we need to remember. Design with a purpose and take advantage of whatever your environment has to offer. But for learners to be motivated to stay, we need to create places in which they can learn. That's really our job. To learn more about our approach to learner engagement and hybrid learning environments, visit insynctraining.com. And don't forget to sign up for our monthly webinar. This month's topic is Modern Strategies for Classic Instructional Design. Sign up with the link in the description below. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into Modern Learning on the Air. For all your training and services needs, visit us at insynctraining.com. And don't forget to sign up for our monthly webinars, where we cover key topics and trends in the learning and development space. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.